Hi, Sayan. How are you doing?
Yeah, hi Pal, I'm doing fine. Thanks.
Congratulations, Sayan, for your 700 score. Q49 V37. Must feel good. GMAT all
Uh,
done. Yes.
yeah, the one part of it is probably done. So fighting for the next part, which but didn't feel at that point of a time. At that point, I thought G might be the only hurdle.
Hmm.
But after crossing the first hurdle, I say that's only a part of the journey. So it's a long
Exactly.
journey before uh,
It is. It is.
converting it into a preferred B school.
Absolutely. But it's a good thing that you focus just on one part of the hurdle and then now you're moving on to the second part. Solve one thing at a time and then, move on. So that's the right approach.
So
So
that's
good.
sort of a sorry to interrupt. So that was sort of a frame of mind that I was also into. So when I
Mm-hmm.
started, while I did some initial research, but it was not as extensive as such. So I thought, let me complete this one first, and then
Mm-hmm.
probably I would next look towards the next
Good.
process or the next goal that is out there in the line.
Very nice. So how many years of experience do you have, Sayan?
Right now I am almost completing 9. So I
Okay.
have a total 9 years of experience, out of which around 6 years has been into a sort of a direct sales and marketing kind of a role, front
Mm-hmm.
facing role. And the delta 3 years has been into sort of a backseat bid management kind of a roles that
Okay.
I have
Good.
been into.
So are you looking into executive MBA or are you looking at full-time MBA?
No, I'm looking for a full-time MBA. So basically, in the Indian B schools, the executive MBAs are 1 year courses.
Right, right.
Which are
Hmm.
full-time 1 year courses. So that's what I'm aiming for.
So that's what you're looking at, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Good, good. Yeah. All right, good. So you are in full swing of preparing for your application. So good luck for that. So let's
Thanks.
talk about your GMAT prep. First of all, how did you decide? So how did you prepare before you started preparing for with e-GMAT?
So basically, the first thought of the GMAT sometime came around to my mind, probably mid last year, around June, July, or something, sort of at that point of a time. So while it came to my mind, I was not really focused into it. I bought my OG and started looking into things, but
Mm-hmm.
I was not really focused in my approach, and I was not regularly preparing, probably over the weekends or so. With
Mm-hmm.
9 years of experience, have been out of the academics now for quite some time. So getting back into that kind of a mode or that kind of a mental framework also took a bit of a time. So
Absolutely.
probably so I started doing it and started preparing and from my own for probably 2 to 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
where I struggled with myself,
Mm-hmm.
both both from the academic point of view and also in bringing the focus into the line.
Mm-hmm.
So then I thought probably to move, I would be in a better position if I do take some external help,
Mm-hmm.
which not only from the academic point of view, but it would help me building a regime and would
Mm-hmm.
try to help me to get into the discipline
Mm-hmm.
of looking into the things on a daily perspective.
That's very
So that's
smart.
what,
You tried it on your own and then you recognize something is not working. So I need external help. And that is
yeah,
very,
yeah.
very smart. Okay, good. Okay. That realization is very important that you need.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So probably what is but I would not recommend probably completely going my way. So probably what is being recommended that you take a diagnostic test, see where you stand, and then start working onto it. But when I started, I thought taking a diagnostic test without having any sort of academic rigor for 9 years now would help demotivate me with the scores
Mm-hmm.
that probably I would be getting.
I
So I
agree.
thought, let me try to build in a bit of by myself or through some
Mm-hmm.
external sources or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, and then take a diagnostics test to see where I stand. So that's
Mm-hmm.
how it started. I started around, and then when I researched about all the means going being in a profession, being a professional, probably going into a classroom coaching would have been difficult for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that it would be best to go for an online help that whatever is available out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I searched over the internets across uh, the well-reputed the course materials or in terms of coaching facilities available. So and when you look over the internet, probably e-GMAT is something is that comes sort of the preferred choice of thousands of uh, means GMAT aspirants who have
Mm-hmm.
taken the test. And based on that, I thought it would be the best to move with GMAT, and I think it has been a good decision for me. And then I moved to taking up the GMAT, taking the e-GMAT help for my the preparation. However, when I started, probably I took a 3 month sort of a subscription, I guess, but somewhere even after taking the subscription, I couldn't really focus into it, and I was not very regular. Actually, since the COVID was over, I had to relocate back to my office location as well. So that was also playing a part, and I had to relocate again, settle down, and those aspects.
We've heard a
So
lot about that.
from
How COVID impacted GMAT studies. Yes. Yeah.
yeah, so not only GMAT, it's sort of a lifestyle change as well. So I went
Absolutely.
back went back to my hometown. I was staying with my family. Then when again the come back to office sort of a culture again set up, and so I had to relocate back to Delhi.
And now you have to do
So
all the
that also
household chores, no more parental
yeah, yeah.
support. So,
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah.
so that took around 2 to 2.5 months, and then probably I started having a focused preparation from the month of February, and that's
Yes.
how the journey started.
Okay, good. And so I see that you have you first started with verbal, you finished SC
Yeah,
course, then you did CR course,
yeah,
then you did quite a bit of quant as well. And I see that
yeah,
right? Yeah. So, and you've done almost all the questions in Scholaranium, thousands of questions, 1400 some questions in verbal, and then similar number in quant. So tell
yeah.
me, what was your approach towards preparing?
Yeah. So when I started, I come from an engineering background. So I thought that quant is something that is imbibed within me, and so I do not need to focus much into it. So I focused mainly into verbal. When I started, also I was struggling a lot in terms of the verbal section. While there was the my what I would say my comfort level was varying at different for SC, CR, and RC different, but on a holistic approach also I was struggling with the verbal too per se. So I thought I should focus first on verbal, and then my initial thought process was quant was something that could come easy to me. So I first went into all the courses available in the verbal, went through all the lectures and started preparing for it. And and all the aspects that GMAT focuses in, like uh, forgetting some of the term, like meaning-based approach and the
Pre-thinking.
pre-thinking approach. So those things I just started imbibing within myself. That helped me a lot. Then I started working. Say, I thought the quant is something that I am comfortable with, but when I started doing the quant section as well, so I thought because of probably the break that I had for so long, for almost now 8 9 years time, so I was struggling with though that as well. Probably I know the concept, but working in a tense environment, in a time bound environment, and sitting for an exam is completely a different ball game altogether. So I need to focus on that aspect as well, and so I started preparing for the one section as well. And I think the e-GMAT course material has helped me. I think for the quant I didn't even completely do the OG as well. So it was completely the e-GMAT course material that I practiced along with the Scholaranium that helped me
Right. Right.
develop the skill
So,
set.
so let's talk about quant first. So
Yeah.
you said you knew the concepts. So, but it's the environment, the timed environment of the test and all that. So, how did the EGMAT course help you? What skills did you learn from it that helped you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one is definitely, while knowing the concept, practice is a very important thing while you are going for any time bound test or something. Sorry. And so that practice sort of helped me to bring in the confidence, and not only the confidence, you need to think quickly regarding the material that whatever the problem that arises. So while I knew the concept, I was taking a lot more time than I could have possibly have the relaxation for taking in an actual test environment. So number one is the concept. Number two is in the e-GMAT, probably most of the type of questions that usually comes for the during the GMAT or the exams that are covered are mostly covered. So getting that sort of the practice helped me to get into the comfort level where I can probably sit in an exam and do those things. And apart from that, there were certain areas like the number system and all, where probably it was while I knew the concept somewhere. I have done that into the school, but it was not really in my mind the way probably the application part of it was not something that was readily inbuilt. So the practice along the course material, in some cases listening to the lectures, and also in every questions that you do in the e-GMAT, there is an explanation where probably every student that has taken it also goes through what has been their thought process behind why they approach that problem. So when you go through it, you kind of recognize probably I was also making the same mistake. So you learn from their mistake and try to build it into your skill set. So learning from the mistakes of the other.
Good.
So I think that logical, it sort of helped me to build that logical building process. So through which I can approach the problem and go to solve it.
Right, right. So very well said, Sayan. Now, let's say you said that the course covers all the varieties, all the variety of questions that you would see on the test, and that's good. Now, let's say you just had the questions and not the solutions along with it. Because again, you can get the variety of questions out there in official guide and in official practice as well. So what value did the solutions in the process skill files or the application or the GMAT skill files play in your...
Before the solution, I will try to touch upon the framework. Probably when you are doing the questions, the things are very haphazard. So probably someone who has not been into the practice kind of a scenario for so long period of a time, doing such haphazard questions probably did not help to build the skill or confidence that you require. So what the e-GMAT is there is you can move from one topic to another. You can build your expertise or sort of a confidence level in one aspect and then move to the other section. I think this is very important when probably mostly for student who has been coming back to the academics after a long period of a time, who has been out of touch. So I think that was the most important aspect apart from the solution that helped to build in the sort of a confidence or skill set or whatever you may say to imbibe for a test environment. And secondly, the solutions. So probably when you are doing a solution, you might be there is a different approach for doing a same problem. So probably what approach that you are probably putting in might not be the best optimum method. And so in a GMAT, it's also very important not to think it from the perspective of solving the problem, but also doing it in a most optimum method. And the GMAT is probably the questions are sort of a built-in, so that certain shortcuts of this skills are not required. It's more of understanding the processes and then having a good ground fundamentals, right, and building upon to that. I think in that way, the solutions that are covered in the e-GMAT framework covers that. It never tries to teach certain shortcuts or this kind of approach that you might be doing in this way. A shortcut method would help you to build in, because ultimately in the GMAT questions will be new. It will not, those shortcuts will not come to your mind when you go, when the questions you cannot recognize really. So building a logic, and the solutions are more focused towards building a logical framework rather than approaching it from certain shortcut kind of a mentality where many of the online portals that are available try to teach or tries to build in.
Absolutely. In fact, when we launched our quant course, people would come and say, "Okay, what about shortcuts? Do you teach shortcuts?" I'm like, "No, shortcuts are not something that I need to teach you. I need to teach you how is it that you need to approach questions. Ultimately, it's the logical thought process that you are developing that you should be able to come up with shortcuts on your own. That's when the course has done its job, and that's what we focus on." So good,
and
I'm
I
glad,
think
I'm glad.
basically the shortcuts, when someone else teaches us the shortcuts, it only helps you when you get a very so the questions that you have done it previously. Once the question is different, I from my perspective, I think those shortcuts not really helps you, because in a tense environment where you are giving an exam, you will not be really thinking about how to approach it from the shortcut perspective. So if you
Exactly.
have a logical framework, the foundation, you will be able to solve it. That's how I think
Very
it
well
is.
said, Sayan. Very well said. In fact, I mean, just to elaborate a little bit more, when you're in the test environment with shortcuts, what happens is you're in your mind, there is that lookup table. if question this, then use this shortcut. So
Yeah,
now
exactly.
instead of concentrating on the question at hand, you're thinking, does this question fit that pattern that I had set my shortcuts
Yeah.
for? And that you're just wasting your valuable time.
Probably way back when we used to be during my academics in my college and school, probably that might help because mostly it's a similar pattern of question that you get out there, but not in a
Right.
kind of a test format that GMAT applies to, where the
Right.
format most while it might cover the topic, but the questions will be different. In the scenario like that, I think it
Yeah,
won't much be
absolutely.
helpful, at least from my perspective, I feel so.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. Okay. Good. So tell me about Scholaranium. What did Scholaranium do for you for
I think
quant? And then we'll go
Scholaranium
into
has
verbal.
been, yeah, Scholaranium I think is the most important, but the amount of question, the versatility of question that Scholaranium provides is, I think, it's immensely helpful. At least has been immensely helpful to me. Though I made one mistake, especially in the quant section. So when I started using the Scholaranium, I was doing it from a practice perspective where I was not time minding myself. My initial approach was apart from the last 1.5 months or so before that test. I think, but for anyone who might be probably using the Scholaranium later, I would best recommend from the very beginning we should approach Scholarium from the time bound perspective. Because but apart from that, the amount of the huge material that Scholaranium is around more than 1400
1452
questions.
questions. Yes. Yes.
1452 question,
1452
yeah, that's
questions.
a huge collection, that's a huge repository. I think if you can really solve that and do so in a time bound manner, I think you are out ready for the exam, I think, for the
Right.
GMAT
Right.
perspective.
Yeah. So Sayan, I did notice that. So good that you brought up the time bound aspect here, and that's something which we tell students during stage one when you're learning the course. Don't time yourself. But as soon as you come to cementing stage two, you need to start doing timed tests, which is why we have two different formats. You have relaxed timing and standard timing. So I
Yeah,
see that you didn't utilize cementing quizzes. That's the reason why you're
yeah.
saying that you went
Yeah, that was a
directly.
major
Yeah.
mistake that I did. I realized it quite late.
But that's
But
okay.
anyway,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
okay. And again, I tell a lot of students there is one way of preparing, right? That's the best possible way that we could think of, which is what we prescribe. But then the content is all available to you, right? So decide how is it that you want to use the content. And again, you got a Q49, you made the best out of the content, you made the best out of your time, and you got there,
yeah,
right? How you got there doesn't matter as long as you get there, as long as you enjoyed the journey and you learned through the steps through your journey, right? That's very
yeah,
important. So yeah, so
yeah,
that's good. So let's talk about verbal now. How did verbal course make a difference? You
yeah.
started
So
off at a low
verbal,
confidence. Yeah. So
I was completely started off with a low confidence. So verbal is something. Being an Indian student, I think most of the students struggle in the verbal section. And I was not very good as well in the verbal section right from my academic years. So I was, while quant was something that I have scored well up way from my school and college years, verbal as something that has been struggled with. And more so, I think the GMAT framework is something that the Indian students do not really, especially on the sentence correction sections, the modifier, the parallelisms are something that we Indian students are not really accustomed to. And so I was really underconfident as far as the SC is concerned. CR, I think somehow I was felt that I was kind of comfortable with that.
it's logic,
But
right?
yeah, it's
It's
a
direct
logic.
logic.
So
SC is
it's
also
direct logic.
logic, but you have to understand that it's
I
logic.
realized it much later after doing the e-GMAT course.
Yes,
That the
exactly.
CR is a that this is a logic. I was not at means when I started, I had no clue that it's a logic. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
from the SC perspective, I think the EG I would give the complete whatever I have achieved in the SC section. I think the complete my acknowledgement goes to the EGMAT, the tutors, the framework, and everything. So it helped me to develop the skills and helped me to look at the questions from even SC from a logical point of view. So when probably after doing for 3 4 months, when I was approaching for my test, I thought I was much more comfortable when I started. So whenever looked at a question, I started breaking down into logical frameworks and started to look from that aspect. I think that was completely the thought process behind it. Is something is means it's been phenomenal from the e-GMAT's perspective.
Good, really. I'm so glad to hear that. Thinking about that SC is all grammar to thinking about, oh, it's logic. It's all logic. That's the way to go.
Yeah.
So really
So
good. I'm
I
glad.
was, I mean, so the when thought process has got, I was not towards the end. I was probably after 2 3 months. I was not thinking from the grammar's perspective altogether. It was
Oh,
completely thinking from the logical perspective.
perfect. That's
No,
that's
so
that's
so
music
when
to
a
my ears.
parallelism come, it is it is linking to the prior section in this way, and
Uh-huh.
that's the way to go about. So that's how it was built in.
Good, good. Very nice. How about RC?
So RC has also been, means I was struggling with RC as well. So first of all, I was not a very avid reader. So
Mm-hmm.
so going and the GMAT RCs are much complex in terms of the
Mm-hmm.
structure of the essays and everything. So initially when I started, I struggled a lot. I remember probably when I started doing RC, I was taking, I was start to read in. I completely went to the e-GMAT approach only to
Mm-hmm.
read the complete passage altogether at once,
Mm-hmm.
understand the passage, and though go toward the questions. So you do not need to go back every time
Mm-hmm.
you see a question and
That's good.
reduce your time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I will stick to it, but initially I struggled a lot. Probably I was taking 9 to 10 minutes for reading the passage as a whole. So I thought, is it the right approach? Am I going the right way? But I thought that no, I will stick to it, and let's see how it goes. I will not means take different strategies. Let the strategy be constant, and let to
Mm-hmm.
try to build in my skill set over what I'm being doing it.
Can
So
I
I
just
think it
pause
has
you
been
right
a,
here? I'm not sure as to what
yeah,
you're
yeah,
going to
sure.
say next, but I just want to commend you on this, that it's your years of experience that are coming about in the strategy that you utilized over here, right? I mean, you didn't second guess. I mean, you were not able to get there, but still you didn't second guess the process. You said, let me give it a shot. I will do it. Again, I'm not sure as to how, what that led to, but that really, I mean, that seriousness, that maturity that you have through your years of experience, that showed up in the way you handled the test. So I just wanted to commend you on that. Yeah, so carry on.
Yeah, thanks. So no, to be very honest, I thought about doing the alternate way as well, but I did it once or twice. But I thought this is not the right way. This will ultimately not help me. Means I need to build expertise doing in this way only,
Mm-hmm.
because going back back and henceforth is not something would further elevate the time that I am taking.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
think that approach, the way the approach that has been taught, I stick to it, and I thought um, and till the means whatever I have been received or whatever outcome that has led me to, I think it's completely attributable to
Good.
the
Good. I'm
framework
glad.
that JDM. Yeah,
I'm glad, Sayan. All right, so good. I mean, very a lot of good points that you mentioned. So, if you were to summarize your journey in 3 points as for recommendation to GMAT aspirants, what would those 3 points be for both
I
quant and
think
particular? Yeah.
yeah. So I think the most important thing is uh, the regularity matters. You need to be
Mm.
disciplined and give some time on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the framework is not that you can really think that you can read over the weekends and do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever time that you give in, you need to be regular. Probably 1 hour, 1.5 hour, 2 hour, however it is that best fits into your calendar thing,
Mm-hmm.
but you need to be regular and you need to be focused. Number two, I think uh, try to once try to build on the concepts and being taught that break down the sentence into 3 parts and 2 parts. I do not think those are the best ways. Try to build on your concepts and
Mm-hmm.
build on to that. And third is try to from as early as you can try to practice on a time bound manner, because that I think is a very important step. And I
Mm-hmm.
think if you can do all these things
After
and
learning the
in a
concepts, though,
structured
right?
after learning the
Yes.
concepts, yeah.
Yes.
So you have to build in the foundation after learning the concept. If you can
Mm-hmm.
build onto that, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the best way to go about it,
Good.
and I
Good.
think that would give you a fruitful result.
Yes, good. All right, Sayan, thank you so much for sharing your words of wisdom and good luck for the next steps in your process. And keep us
Thank you.
posted as to where you land up. Okay?
Sure, I
Yeah,
will do so.
yeah.